Gladiators, FaZe Clan, Bigatron, Red Villains, Alpha 7 Esports finally starting to heat up here right at the tail end of day number 1. And speaking of heat up, we're going into Miramar for the first time here today. CalRs, how you feeling?
Pretty good. The penultimate game of the day. Looking forward to seeing how these teams approach a very different battleground in Miramar. Of course, Sandhawk, small for these 18 teams to try and battle one another. Erangel, the bread and butter. Very easy for these teams to be able to know where they're going to be going. Miramar, a whole different ball game when it comes to long-range fights, when it comes to those transitions that you're going to be making between kind of landmark to landmark. So let's see how they're going to fare.
I am excited here because remember, there are 18 teams in this tournament. This is our first Miramar of the day. Even though it is the biggest map that we're going to be playing on in this tournament, you never know if we're going to see that hot drop happen. So my eyes are glued to the screen. Looking at the center of the map, we can see S2G heading right towards Pecado. Sin City may possibly pass it up. I curved in that same direction. And we have Vampire finally exiting the plane as well.
Yep, currently flying towards Junkyard locations, or even how things go over at Minas Generalis, but we will see how things are going to fare. Already you can see Falcons out, ready to go. They are driving all the way down, heading towards Valdemar here to get things going. For a drop plane like this, completely understandable. It's not easy to be able to fly all the way to Valdemar, and the circle is going to favor them.
All the way down south. That is going to definitely make things interesting. All right, Gladiators, all the way in the north side by La Cobreria. They're going to have to go ahead and make a quick rotation on down. Vampire Esports, again, still in first place. Nice. Nice, good, solid amount of points so far. But Gladiators started to catch them little by little here. This could be a big statement game to finally close that gap.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think for Gladiators, one thing they're going to be potentially anticipating in this, when we look at the map, when we look at the lay of the land, is usually when they see a circle like this, they like to go for that big west rotate, right? But you've got teams like Alpha 7 and El Pozo that could quite easily do something similar, especially if they're waiting for it down the line. So also there's the 2023 PMWI crates going to be available from July 15th to August 15th. I did call the Orm an M24 in the previous game. Don't know why. Both are great guns, but yeah, it's an Orm.
And both sound lovely, suppressed. So for only
one
month only, definitely go pick it up as you can. Of course, also while you're there, check out the Esports Center. There's all kinds of goodies that you guys can pick up as well.
Yeah.
So, man, I mean, this is where all these teams made it from, the Esports Center itself, right? It took your votes to get these players here. They're excited. And this ain't no regular schmegular league stage. There's $1 million on the line here. Oh, yeah. This is a big boy amount of money. So I like to hear what the desk, you know, we heard the desk talking about S2G.
We've heard them a lot today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have heard them quite a bit. They talked about a lot. But one point that really kind of kicks my mind is, you know, S2G, you know, previous champions, and how Seven said, you know, is this team, was it a one-time chance? Was it a fluke, right? Or we're going to see that consistency come from them now. And I'll tell you what, this league stage, there's no excuses, right? They got to get it done.
It's really tough when you become a world champion, because then the target's on your back straight away.
True.
And you become the most studied team on the planet when it comes to PUBG Mobile. So that then gives you a bit of a disadvantage. You then constantly have to reiterate, re-evolve, reassess how you're going to be making rotations. Because honestly, people will know how you play. You're the most watched team on the planet for that moment. So yeah, it's understandable that evolution is required.
And speaking of evolution, right, I think Vampire Esports is going to be the most watched team, all right, as starting right now, right? So we'll definitely see a lot of homework being done from these teams going tomorrow, but it's not there yet. Look at this. Cute Loki picking up a nice point. Ooh, nice return shots to kind of help their homie out, but it doesn't look like he is going to be able to make it to safety.
Yeah, very, very difficult to kind of lose that to start things off, but that was a reinforcing shot that was quite important, because they're also down here in the town in El Azahar. So to be able to get that knock and maybe confirm it completely. Look, this is almost acting as bait here at the moment. Romeo Boy is holding this angle, watching as the recovery is trying to come in, and then, you know, just going to be peeking around the corner with the M16 if he needs to and clean it up completely. But they actually don't take the bait. They let him be completely eliminated, and then the trade will come in here in the building.
Yeah, who he got? It looked like he was trying to go for that res, but ends up getting taken out in the process. So a tough play.
Pumpy.
Yeah, for them. Ooh, let's see. And Romeo Boy, I think he's actually going to be throwing some smokes just to kind of get this reset. They have the advantage, so it's definitely a smart play.
And Ferrari a little bit in the distance here. Can't quite get the angle on that from the windows that he's seeing. Isaac, though, what can he do? As he's kind of just a reinforcement gun for the moment here, given this position. He was basically waiting in these locations to wait for the cross. If a cross was to come out for Infinity that we're seeing here, then you could easily punish it.
Yeah, this is Young on Galacticos right here. I do like the fact that Cute Loki is on top of that mountainside, just giving that intel to the rest of the squad. I think eventually we're going to see him climb down and get in this fight because they definitely don't want to make a mistake here. Push in 2 at a time. Nah, use those numbers advantage, clear this players out, and get ready to move on to the next zone.
Meanwhile, in the distance, Matic is going to be camping things out. DBS, the 1-2 punch coming in from it. It's a lovely sound. We were talking about all the gun sounds, man. It's so nice.
Ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. Almost sounds like a cash register opening up, right? Because it is straight money here. And I love the fact that, that we talked to, I got a chance to talk with John Allen, right? The coach for Vampire Esports. I know, it was tough, dealing with him. But you know what? It was a good time because, we heard Sir Tammy talk about how he didn't want his squad to use the DBS. And in Sandhawk, I saw every single one of them with the DBS. So,
yeah, I mean,
hey, you know what? Game is game. That's all I can say about that.
Quite honestly, you can't come into this tournament and not use the DBS. He is an absolute menace when it comes to this close range. Ferrari is still waiting on this angle, waiting for the cross just to peek out and actually finish that off. With the Tommy gun, no less. I mean, it's not exactly the gun that you would actively desire in this situation, but it will get the job done if he sees it. Goes for the peek on the round. Bernat trying to go for it as well and will get it. That is Infinity out in 18th.
Ooh, that is going to be a tough start for them here. So not going to get a lot of, experience in this Miramar match, but they do have one more right after this. So hopefully they make a bounce back. Now, DRS Gaming, right? DRS, this squad absolutely fragged out in PMGC.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those quiet teams that if they really just start hanging up and things go right, they could definitely take the top of those leaderboards pretty quickly.
I mean, they surprised me, I will say. Like, sometimes I've been a bit, iffy about DRS and how they're going to play things out. But as you say, with PMGC and that kind of the position that they were able to take, you can't really question too much of what they're able to do. Now, they're in Picardo at the moment, and in terms of where these circles could go and barrier teams setting themselves up, the hillside south of Picardo, like where teams set up across, does become an extreme barrier if the circle goes south. But we'll see. We'll see where the circle goes, and then I can judge it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the one thing that's so tough about these southern Miramar zones is the terrain is ridiculous. It is so brutal, real difficult to kind of move with those vehicles on there. You definitely want to have those 4x4s if you can get them. I like the fact that we see Alpha 7, right, setting up really heavy onto that west side of the map, looking for that high ground. And this is where they really thrive. I think Alpha 7, out of all the maps, Miramar is a place where they could really rack up some points.
Especially when they've got the hills that you were mentioning before, which become quite difficult to traverse in the later stages. So you kind of want to be pitched up in them early if the circle comes here. And you can actually transition between them in these earlier stages. Circle will center just north of Chumacera. So there's the opportunity here for them to rotate on that west side to get things rolling. And likewise for the teams coming in from the north a little bit later, this is a bit of a saving grace for them. They don't have to transition far south through those big hillsides, and they can kind of perch up where they want to.
Yeah, well, definitely seeing a lot of congestion there on that south side, like you mentioned. These teams got to be really, really careful on this rotation. You don't want to lose any players early on, especially in Miramar. You want to have that full squad. Take a look at Vampire as they're looking to get into some action here, as they're going to be running up onto FaZe Clan. One of the teams trying to catch him on the leaderboards, and oh man, you can see the quick U-turn. That's actually going to leave his teammate out to dry, but Tony clutches up a nice shot.
It flicks through here. The DBS still trying to reign supreme in a lot of these locations. Pre-fire is very important against the DBS because if you don't hit the first shot, you're almost certainly going to get down. That's why you're seeing the M4 spraying through the door.
That was disgusting from Tony K right there. Just getting the elimination, doing the eject to try to get back to his team. And now Vampire is just trying to buy some time, get a reset going. But there is fire from all over the place, not to mention FaZe getting a huge nade onto Stone, and that's Vampire Esports out of there.
rocking up a little bit ambitiously against the position that FaZe had and able to deal with that very effectively. I mean, this church location is actually of extreme strength when it comes to a position to be able to have overlook across a lot of this kind of circle in terms of the north as well as towards the west. So yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, that was a really tough fight for them. I mean, anytime you try to take these early game positions, you got to be careful because you got to know that that third party could come at any time. And R8 doing a good job of getting in that action and making it that much more difficult for Vampire. Now looking at the rest of this zone. So far, you know, it's going to be we'll see a little bit of quiet, I think, for a little while. But DRS in the feed, lighting it up right now.
See what they can do. As here we see D+ Kia just slowly kind of positioning against Falcon. I think neither team really wants to take this too aggressively. They want to move up towards Chumas area here and try and find themselves some hillside just south of it, which actually is not a bad location to have kind of an advantage point over Trumasera. But as Trumasera gets more busy, there's actually not a lot of room for people to wiggle around in there. So it's gonna get tense.
Yeah, especially if that zone shifts to the south. That is gonna be an all-out battle. We'll see where it decides to go to. Alpha 7 looking to do a nice little spread among those hills, trying to go ahead and get as much intel they can get for this next zone that's about to come up. S2G pretty locked dead center of the circle, so they are pretty safe. Let's see where this next zone decides to go. Where do you think it's going to go, Cal?
I think Chuma. I think just get Chumasera all centered, but it's not going to be the case. It does include a little bit more of it here. But now that kind of causes problems for Team in Chumasera. Unless we get hard shifts all the way there, they're going to have to leave. And actually leaving from the east side is pretty open. So getting out of it, especially against where Icurd is, for example, BTR might have some issues.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of teams trying to cross right through them. And Falcon's most likely going to hug that. So let's take a look at this pretty replay right here is Killer, YT, yeah, just popping another player out of those vehicles. And this is what I was talking about. This terrain is brutal, and it makes those rotations just that much more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got a UAZ like this, it gets a little bit tricky to be able to wiggle around. That's why people like boogies, but then the boogie is a little bit more susceptible to being sprayed down. But anyway, Atom here trying to take the fight alongside it, using the UMP in these little choke points to try and get things done. A full first aid kit here going off, trying to get healed up and good to go.
Oh my gosh, AGI8 just absolutely picking Aton Esports apart. Fran desperately trying to get some assistance from his team, but you can just see Blade. He knows he's hurt. He's full sitting at the pre-fire and does get another point on the board.
And Blade has 400 bullets with it across his Mini as well as his M4 here. So he realizes he's going to be taking a lot of fights. Needs to get back in here to some cover to try and escape some of those overlook shots that are coming in. DBS in the 1-2 punch. Will he get another one, though? The pre-fire coming around the corner. You don't want it coming around.
Sohan clutching it up right where he needs to. Falix trying to shut it down. Here comes that Molotov. Placed in a pretty solid position to kind of buy him some time. And that nade, oh, that was way too close for comfort. He's going to throw one back himself. But he's waiting for Blade to help him. The bounce nade, it was a self-nade. But Zohan, able to clutch up that shot and make up for his mistake right there. Oh, but Falcon! Falcon stealing a point. Just like that, they are controlling this hillside.
From the high ground, looking good here as Blade's trying to come in once again. Got plenty of bullets, as we were mentioning before, but again, he's going up against DBS as Zohan here is trying to position himself ready for a potential move through that window because Blade was looking maybe for that flank. Now, little jump potential for the shot. Blade not going to give him though. You don't need to be too aggressive against this, although he's going to go for it. Oh, the res is going off. Perfect stuff, but Falcon's in to clean up.
Yeah, Falcon coming right on time. They smell like that. How is that Molly not burning him alive? Blade must be, I don't know, wearing a fire extinguisher at this point because he is still living. That nade should be it, though. And Blade gets out alive.
Ridiculous, ridiculous. And he's somehow still here. He's got some smoke cover to get things going. What if we get Blade up against the vampires? That would be meta. I would like that.
Let's see if...
But they're gone.
yeah, the vampires saying, you know what, I think we're just going to go ahead and hold on this position for a little while longer. As Blade's trying to get some more points for his team desperately. And Falcons, yeah, okay, now they finally have sniffed them out. Here come the shots, and Blade finally goes down.
There was also so much he was going to be able to do against that. You're not able to hold on against multiple waves of Extremely strong players here, all things considered. So nice try by Blade overall, but meanwhile in the distance, Bigatron is doing a lot of work against Donuts. They're kind of in the center. They were moving through Chumacera to make that work and actually pick themselves up a few eliminations.
Yeah, Team Falcons racking up 2 eliminations so far. They were in 6th place, so not a bad start for them. Yangon Galacticos right now leading the lobby with 4. That's going to be Yokohama Donuts out in 14th place. Still 13 teams remaining.
You heard even S2G actually shooting off some kind of ruffling their feathers shots here, just making sure teams weren't going to be coming their way. If they show their presence up in this north side, maybe teams will kind of go away from them for the moment. And for now, they're going to have to think about their transition south, which is all important here, because, again, unless they get hard shifts, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, S2G's been playing it really quiet so far. I mean, they're kind of just holding that north side position.
Yeah.
But they are waiting for that next zone, I think. If it does happen to pop onto them, that's what they're really hoping for. But if it doesn't, it's going to be a tough ride. Tixi, man, Tixi had one heck of a game in that last one here.
Yeah.
And you could see him putting on that pressure on the Mafioso. They do not realize this is Alpha 7 just yet. So once they do get that elimination, if they get one on them, I wonder if they're going to push it.
Maybe. I mean, at the same time, though, pushing it across this valley can be a bit treacherous. They're going to be riding all the way up, though. This is bold. If there was an overlook here from Alpha 7 to try and hit some of these shots, it would be very easy pickings for Alpha 7. They're going to go for the spray. That car's smoking. They've got to be careful.
Matic in trouble here. McHugh needs to go ahead and get a little bit of assistance for his team. Tixi has the off angle. McHugh running that front line here. Got 5 nades. Is he going to use all of them? Revo is really close. McHugh could thread the needle here, but it happens to be just a little bit off the mark. A little overcooked as well.
Yeah.
As Revo is using the information he's getting from his squad to try and pinpoint these nades.
That and also seeing the arc of the nades coming your way gives away the position here. But Revo, a lot of damage done to him. They've got to be careful about this. As, I don't know, this is still kind of up in the air, this fight. Kitsune is moving away for more info.
Yeah, now you got Silas as well right behind him. So S2G is kind of, they heard some shots, might want to get a little piece of this action, and it just so happens to be against the teams that are right next to them on the leaderboard.
Oh, no.
Revo with the angle, gets 1. Is not able to get 2, but he actually gets help. I think that's all the way from S2G. Silas making things that much more difficult for Gladiators.
So, I mean, giving up that hold where they did, I mean, I understand their apprehension about S2G causing some problems and causing some commotion towards the north. But if you're going to make that cross against the valley, you have to end that fight against Alpha 7 quick and steal their position, but it wasn't to be.
Oh, and now Gladiators are just between a rock and a hard place right now. Completely sandwiched between 2 monsters in the lobby. Alpha 7 just, licking their chops, taking every single point that they can get here at this. I mean, they are in a really good spot.
Fade out. Gladiators not doing too much. Dixie against Sem9, though, in the buildings. Going to try and use the DBS to the fullest extent. 4 shots still remaining before he has to go for the reload, and Tixi continues some of the power that he was showing in the previous game, eliminating Sem9 completely. And, I mean, he's got to do something. He's got to salvage some points in this game.
Tixi's insane. I think he had almost double digits eliminations in that last
8,
one. It was crazy. 8 is a huge number, and he's going to ahead and add to that total score right there. Take a look here at S2G Esports. Silas got his eyes locked on Carrillo. He's going to go ahead and take those shots. He's waiting. Sizing him up. Now he's finally go ahead and taking them, but just a little bit off the mark.
Suppress Scarrel, not quite as much control as an M4 for those kinds of shots, but, it's a nice attempt regardless, as we do see Alpha 7 moving on back here. Alpha 7 is moving around in all these vehicles to try and find an opening into the circle, but with S2G up towards the north, as we take a look at the replay, Tixi did so much with the DBS, as we saw the tail end of all of this. But Alpha 7 is now going to try and bomb through Chumacera while this replay is going on to try and find that opening. Oh, yeah,
they are hunting it down, and, BTR is down in the buildings, just holding their position for now with the full squad alive. They want to secure the solid point. Here's DRS outside of the circle, right on the edge here. They're going to have to battle their way in, and they definitely have their eyes locked on Yangon Galacticos.
Yes, they do. As stalemate for now, but look at the M249 here. If he's able to get a few shots off with spray transition as well, you don't have to be reloading anytime soon with a gun like that, so you can very, very liberal about how you're going to be spamming out those shots. But Isaac looking into the distance, trying to get a bit of scouting information. There are almost always teams over where he was looking, so realizes that there's a present threat over in the west.
Yeah, DRS is in a pretty precarious position right here. They're just outside of the circle. There's quite a few teams surrounding him. What do you think is their best spot? Do they go for that fight against Galacticos, or do they rotate away?
It might be a rotate away on the east side and try and bait in R8 to fight against Galacticos. Or you could even wait for S2G, because they're currently moving in from that west side. But I think where they are currently and the weakness that position presents, I don't know if it's worth the fight, Hot Chooks.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what, though. If those two teams go at it, a third-party opportunity could definitely happen.
But S2G just knocks somebody from Galacticos. That could be a go sign here for DRS in the, again, weaker position that they're currently find themselves in.
And they got to get out of it quick, because there's only 48 seconds left on the clock here. Things are starting to hype up. And yeah, it looks like they are finally starting to make that rotate on south that we called out a little bit earlier.
I think it's a mature play. I don't think you take that fight considering how much power they had relative to your position. And meanwhile, they're actually using it as an opportunity to crash through the middle of the circle while these fights going on. You can see in S2G pushing up against the position here of R8, and R8 could find themselves in a spot bother here.
100%, yeah, DRS, you timing that perfectly to be able to get away from that spot and into this next circle. Alpha 7 really close to Bigatron right here. That's going to be a battle I definitely want to see.
Bigatron's had a lot of time to set up on the east side of Chumacera, so technically I would give them the advantage. But that being said, S2G is now blasting through the middle here towards D plus Kia. Maybe they can make something happen, but they're very disbanded. They're very kind of disjointed from one another. That could come back to bite them.
That looked like a total desperation play right there. They just full sended it down the center, and what do you know? They just got blown apart. That was honestly a, I don't know, that was a little subpar rotation there from what I've seen.
I thought they were going to linger around and try and crest the hill against RA, but it's not to be here, as once again we see Falcon. Unfortunately, an explosion will cause Punching King to go down. Long-range sprays from iCurd, though. One position of power that exists in this circle right now for a while is their high ground location. They can see almost the entirety of the lobby from here.
And they're on the edge of that circle, though, so they definitely want to go ahead and rack up as many elimination points as they can get, because if that zone pops off them, they got to get in those vehicles and start moving. But it's an all-out war right now. Alpha 7 versus Bigatron. Very, very close on the leaderboards. Alpha 7 trying to make up for their sloppy play in the early part of the day, but Alpha 7 does normally start heating up at the end of these tournaments. Here we go. Revo pressing that field, going in with that DBS pre-fire, but it's not able to get the shot off.
Yeah, decent pre-fire from the ump as well, though.
Nice Molly.
Molly will actually burn him up and also catch Mafioso, who's moving out to get things done. Alpha 7's normally very good at these kinds of breaches, but there are supporting fire coming in against BTR, which is causing them problems from iCurd, which was the position of power we were mentioning.
And iCurd just turned this fight around as those two knocks opened the door up for Alpha 7, and Alpha 7 ate Bigatron alive.
I love the awareness from Alpha 7 as well. They knew that they had help from these shots coming in from those windows. So as soon as they were able to eliminate them and then get onto those body boxes, instantly lie down. You can loot, you can keep out of the eye line from iCurd.
And you could also write a check to iCurd as well.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Yeah,
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, definitely want to send that thank you note for there. Take it to the bank, baby. There's $1 million on the line. Every single point counts. As you can see, Carrillo looking to get some cheeky shots there, busting out that single fire M4 in the late game.
Prestige and R8 now moving on through. They did have themselves that warehouse location, but they're going to have to fight up against Galacticos here. SK Ton with that able to do so much damage against them. The double stoppage here for Galacticos, unfortunately.
Yeah, brutal, absolutely brutal. Let's take a look here at the map as Falcon Esports in 6th place prior to this one. They are dead center in a pretty good spot with 3 members up. They could definitely rack up some points on the board. But one team we haven't talked about a second is DRS. DRS rocking the full lobby. Here they go. Looking, they have their eyes on R8, and R8 has been in big trouble this tournament.
DRS has been very patient. We've been talking about the plight that they may face. Going for a spray, but honestly, whiffing that one. That was not the best, but the return will finish things off. So he recouped. He recouped.
100%. He made up for that one. Yeah, my eyes are a little wide open, but he does get that finish. And R8, yeah, now you can see they realize this is DRS Gaming. They're starting to detract a little bit. Carry Boy is holding those crates, looking for a time to shine. Saw Killer YT make that jump, get beat up a little bit, but man, oh, this is starting to heat up here.
The man advantage causes concerns for RA, as you say, with the back off. And then as this circle narrows down, DRS realizes that, okay, we could finish the fight with R8 here to that west side, but we also have a lingering threat in phase towards ourselves.
You know, I'm looking at Team Falcons right here. They're the dead center of the circle. I want to see him start taking some shots. There's no point to kind of hold your end. Now, if you're on the edge of that zone, you want to kind of, you know, hide a little bit, that makes sense. But right now, you should be just shooting at everything that moves.
2 limbs at the moment, and actually the school buildings on Miramar don't offer huge amounts of cover. They're a little bit deceptive about their structure. There's a lot of windows, a lot of openings that you can be shot at from opposite sides of circles, to be perfectly honest. Thankfully, this one sits in a little bit of a bowl for some teams on the west to be able to see, for example. But those teams in the north eventually will be able to see this location.
100%. And I'll tell you what, if you're Team Falcons, you want to make that wall of pure M4 shots to tell teams, you know what, you don't even want to come near us right now, because you'll see as Alpha 7, Mafioso getting in his US, he's making the push across as Team Falcons making a great shot on the I-Curd there.
Not bad as a reinforcement point, also providing Carrillo some cover there, much needed, because he was lying down prone to try and stem the tide of some of the shots coming in. I-Curd moving on up as well now. They had to get a big blitz off that high ground and actually still survive. They could play for some placement here.
Okay, now Team Falcons, I like what they're doing. They're grouping up and they're focusing on one team at a time, because they're starting to get pressed on the backside of the building. Mazexis now having a full standing on in as Ozzy almost pops him out the vehicle with that UMP, but now we're taking a look at R8 in an all-out battle against Alpha 7.
Still the trying to do something against this here. I-Curd actually shutting down the Zexes in the distance. Trick goes down for the moment. Mafioso throwing in some nades towards, I think that was actually a smoke to elongate the cover that they actually have in that position. But Escaton very close to some explosions there as time goes on.
Go ahead and get that energy drink off, but all it takes is one nade right now. That would really prove demise for Alpha 7. Alpha 7, oh, getting shot from both sides. They don't know which way to look at. SK Tong with the angle gets Carrillo.
Yeah, difficult for them to deal with this. Multiple angles is causing them a lot of problems. And Molly comes in as well here, trying to burn them away, but it will be a frag grenade to be able to get those eliminations on the board. Alpha 7 out in 8th.
Got him, just like that. I mean, they got pinched in between 2 squads, and there was nothing they could do. Let's take a look at R8. R8 with 8 eliminations at the bottom of the leaderboards, but finally started to make a little bit of noise.
I liked the disengage between R8 as well as DRS, because they realized neither team was really going to come out of there completely unscathed. But now, as time goes on here, DRS has a lot of work to be doing up in that northeast side to try and get themselves in a position to assault the Falcons location eventually. I was talking about this bowl. You can see the picture of it here and how it works out, but anybody coming into there is vulnerable for a good 5 or 6 seconds.
100%. I'll tell you what, this is a huge game for a lot of squads. You got Team Falcons, DRS Gaming in the middle of the pack here, but every team above them on the leaderboards is already knocked out. So this is their chance to catch up. They want to get a chicken dinner here and now.
And with that bowl that I'm explaining about, that's why we're going to see quite a lot of edge play here from these teams, trying to skirt around, eliminate those teams on the edges, and then worry about Falcons later on. DRS is making a wrap on this northwest side, knowing that if you bomb it into where Falcons is, I think you probably lose all your members.
And I'll tell you what, this is the kind of position where timing is everything.
Agreed.
If you take a battle just a little too early, you're going to get third-partied. A little too late, and then you're going to get gate-kept. So we'll see how they decide to make this happen. Inactive, trying to find an off angle. He wasn't expecting the unknown inside the back of that truck. And he was able to take him out here as Falcons. Oh, the hacks. Oh, yeah. I said, you know what? This is not a place I want to be. But Zex is completely pinched. Team Falcons doing a great job of picking them apart.
Yeah, they knew exactly how to hold on against this wall. They've been here for a long time. They knew how to stage the defense because they've been planning it in their minds for the last 50 minutes or so. So now they realize, technically, I-Curd is still down there, but they are very, very vulnerable.
The toes!
They see them through! Oh!
TQ busting out the nail clippers, now blowing up the Marauder there. Unknown is in big trouble. Here comes Papa Blue, and that is going to be Unknown. Actually, he caught a reload right on time.
Huge.
Unknown gets the shots. Unknown ain't done yet.
He's trying to push on up, seeing if he can do. This is the one window of opportunity he has. Also, likewise, Falcons on the other side. We're dealing with all the other threats that we're lying around here in this ball. So it's a perfect time for them to try and kind of shut things down. But iCurd, actually, considering how far Unknown has been able to push up against this, Falcon's got to be scary here. He needs to get the flush because he's currently feeding him information. This is very important. He needs to get the flush.
He's the last player up. They're in currently last place. They need every point they can get. And you can see if he hits this nade, that would be absolutely insane. Just a little bit off the mark.
Whoa. Steady.
He said, you know what? I'm tired of this blue zone. I'm tired of you. Stop. Slow down.
You keep pushing me. Yeah, okay. Oh, wow. If they're able to get the res on this, does he see? The vehicle is just barely hiding his vision here. And also, D plus Kia is going to get maybe a res on this.
No.
He's gone.
Gets spotted. That was so close. Now D plus Kia have to get a fight going, but it's Team Falcons, and you can see the hype in their players. This squad is now in a solid position after this game.
Those last fights down to minute details. If that car is not where it was, then he would have been able to see them and shut it down. It could have been a different story completely. Unknown making moves for iCurd, but Falcons locking down this sometimes difficult to defend location very nicely.
And I'll tell you what, that's going to do great for their overall morale. I mean, the way that they executed Mezexis right there was literally picture perfect. You can see the hype in the chat as the Falcons have turned up this lobby.
They know it. Falcons, one of the greatest teams here, absolutely, as they're able to do very well here in the school building. And look how happy they are, man. Look how happy they are.
Look at that right there. That is how you get it done, folks. You can see the hearts are coming out. I love to see this. There's nothing like when it's time to shine. The last final matches, being able to put some major points on the board.
Definitely so, definitely. It is much needed points as well. I mean, considering the way that they were holding that out, they could have easily put all their attention on iCurd, but they knew they had to keep a multiple front battle going on against D plus Kia as well. Very important.
And I'll give big props to Unknown, though. I mean, Unknown, like you mentioned, if somebody parked that Marauder just a couple feet in any other direction, Unknown could have taken out Team Falcons and they would have been out of there. But you know what? Hey, that's how you get it done.
That's how you get it done?
That's how you get it done, guys. Oh, yeah, sorry. We get it done. Y'all get it done. Don't worry. We'll be